you freeze. Something moved in the tall grass. Your body knows before your mind does, because your heart is already slamming against your ribs. You are not the hunter here, you are the meat. For most of the time humans have existed on this planet, this was not a nightmare. It was a Tuesday. Today you can walk through a city of 10 million people and never once fear being eaten. Your ancestors did not have that luxury for roughly 2 million years. So how did you survive? How did a slow, soft, clawless primate with no fangs and no armor live long enough to become the most dominant animal on Earth? The answer is stranger and darker than you think. Start with the truth almost no one tells you. For a very long time, your ancestors were not at the top of the food chain. They were somewhere in the middle, and the animals that hunted them were not the lions and tigers you picture. They were worse. There is a cave in South Africa called Swartkrans. In the 1960s, a paleontologist named C.K. Brain began digging through its ancient layers, and what he found rewrote the story of early humans. Brain wrote a book about it with a title that says everything. He called it The Hunters or the Hunted, because the bones in that cave were not the bones of successful hunters. They were the leftovers of meals. Early human relatives, our cousins, dragged into the dark and eaten. Brain found something chilling on one fossilized skull, two neat puncture holes in the bone. When he compared them to the skull of a leopard, the spacing matched the lower fangs perfectly. A leopard had killed that individual, clamped down on the head, and hauled the body up into a tree or down into the cave to feed in peace. This is what leopards still do today. They cache their kills. 2 million years ago, the thing they were caching was you. Now go further back to a single small skull found in a place called Taung. A researcher named Raymond Dart studied it in the 1920s and realized it belonged to a child, an early human ancestor, maybe 3 years old. For decades, no one knew how the child died. Then a scientist named Lee Berger took a closer look at the eye sockets in the base of the skull. He found tiny, distinctive gouges, the same kind of marks that modern eagles leave when they punch their talons into a monkey's skull and rip it out of a tree. The Taung child was not killed by a great cat. It was carried off by a bird of prey. Think about that. There was a time when the sky itself was hunting your family. So what was actually stalking your ancestors? Leopards, yes. Hyenas that were larger than today's, giant birds, and something with a name you have probably never heard, Dinofelis, a false saber-toothed cat, muscular and low to the ground, built not for speed but for ambush. C.K. Brain suspected it may have specialized in hunting our ancestors. A predator, possibly, that saw the small upright apes as its preferred prey. Sit with that for a second. There may once have been an animal on this earth whose favorite food was human. So how did you get out alive? Not with strength. You never had it. You survived with 3 things no fang or claw could match. The first was seeing. Your ancestors did something no leopard expected. They stood up, walking on 2 legs, raised your eyes above the grass, and suddenly you could spot the ripple of a stalking cat from much farther away. Height became a warning system. A predator's whole strategy depends on getting close before you notice. Standing tall stole that advantage away. The second thing was each other. A lone early human was a snack. A group of 30 watching in every direction was a problem. Predators hunt the isolated, the sick, the straggler. They avoid the crowd because a crowd fights back. Your ancestors learned to never be alone, to sleep in clusters, to post themselves where they could see. Safety was not a wall or a weapon. Safety was other people. And the third thing changed everything. Your ancestors picked up rocks, then sharpened sticks. Then eventually they threw them. Here is something your body still remembers. Look at your shoulder. The human shoulder is a strange piece of engineering, loose and whip-like, unlike almost any other primate. An anthropologist named Neil Roach studied exactly how it works and found that it stores energy like a slingshot, letting you hurl an object faster than any chimpanzee ever could. You are, quite literally, built to throw. That ability, sharpened over hundreds of thousands of years, meant that for the first time a soft little primate could hurt something dangerous from a distance. without ever letting it get close. So let's reconstruct a night. You are lying in the dark 100,000 years ago on the African savanna. There is no roof. There is no door. There is only the fire. Because your ancestors learned to control fire. And fire was the thing the darkness could not stand. Its light pushed the shadows back. Its heat warmed you. And its smoke and crackle told every predator in the valley that this patch of ground belonged to the strange apes who fought back. Around that fire sat the others, your tribe awake in shifts. Someone always watching. Spears within reach. Eyes on the black edge of the grass where the eyes of the leopard might be watching back. You did not survive the deadliest predators on Earth because you were stronger than them. You survived because you refused to face them alone and because you learned to reach out and touch them before they could touch you. But here is the twist. The most important part of the story is not that you survived the predators. It is what surviving them did to your mind. Think about what it takes to live under constant threat of ambush. You have to remember which watering hole the lions favor at dusk. You have to read a bent blade of grass and know a body pressed through it minutes ago. You have to coordinate silently with the people around you. To plan, to warn, to trust. Living as prey demanded a brain that could model danger before it arrived. A brain that could imagine the future and rehearse it. Some researchers believe this pressure, the endless game of not being eaten, helps sharpen the very things that make you human. Your alertness, your imagination, your deep, wordless need to belong to a group. The fear you feel walking to your car alone in a dark parking lot is not a malfunction. It is a 2 million-year-old survival system, still running, still scanning the grass. And there is proof of how deeply this marked us. Go into the deep caves of France, into a place called Chauvet, where our ancestors painted on the walls more than 30,000 years ago. Among the horses and the mammoths, what did they choose to draw again and again? Lions, panels of them, hunting. The very predators that once ate our children were painted with awe, with reverence, deep in the sacred dark. We did not just fear them, we remembered them. We may have worshipped them. Now look at your own world. You have won. The lions are behind bars in zoos. The leopards are gone from your streets. Nothing in your city wants to eat you tonight, and yet you still lock your doors. You still feel watched in an empty stairwell. You still turn to look when something moves at the edge of your vision. That reflex kept your family alive across 100,000 generations of darkness. It is the oldest inheritance you carry, older than language, older than fire. So the next time something moves in the corner of your eye and your heart jumps before your mind can explain why, don't be embarrassed by it. That fear is not weakness. That fear is the reason you exist. Your body knows before your mind does. Because for 2 million years, the ones who felt it first were the ones who lived.